There was a famous jail in America. No criminal can escape from that place because it is covered with water on all four sides, and it is very deep. With great difficulty, criminal Robert was caught and brought to that jail. Detective David said to Robert, "Now you cannot escape from this jail." Robert said to Detective David, "Let's see." Many days passed. Robert was planning how to escape. During lunchtime, Robert chose to collect his food. Rather than eating his food, he spent more time looking around the place to escape. He started to save and hide his food. One night he saw all were busy and no warden nearby. He was successful in coming out of the cell. In some distance he saw 3 doors. Behind the first door, there were hungry dogs who had not eaten for 3 days. In the second door there was an electric shock. Anyone trying to cross, that will be a dead meal. Behind the third door was a healthy big security guy who will catch and bring you back to the cell. Can you say which door Robert will choose and how he will escape from jail? Let us see. When Robert saw the doors, he chose the first door. He gave the food to the dogs which he had saved, and dogs were busy eating food. Robert escaped from the jail. One day, Albert was reading books in his drawing room. As usual, he called his maid Stella and said, "I want a cup of coffee." Stella prepared coffee and told Albert, "Sir, today I will be leaving early to my house." Albert asked her, "Why, what happened?" Stella says, "My younger child is not feeling well." Then Albert says, "Okay." Maid says thank you and left. After she leaves, there comes someone in his room and hit Albert on his head. Next day when Albert's wife Emily came, and when she went into the drawing room, she saw her husband on the floor and he was dead. She called Detective David and said, "I was on a business trip and now I return and see my husband is dead." Detective David comes and asks for all the members who were present at the time of the incident. Till then, David examined the drawing room. He got the flower pot which was used to kill Albert. When he first asked his daughter, she said, "I was in my bedroom watching TV." Then he asked the maid Stella. She said after giving him coffee, "I went home early because my younger one was not feeling well." Then he asked his wife, and she said, "I was on vacation with my friends." Detective David came to know who is lying. Can you say how David came to know who is telling lies? When Detective David asked Albert's wife Emily, she said she had gone on vacation with friends, but earlier she told that she was on a business trip. Something was fishy. Detective David came to know that she is the person behind her husband's death. One day, a lady named Rachel went to the hospital for a checkup with her daughter. After a while, the nurse asked the lady to go in, and the doctor checked the girl and asked her to do some tests. Rachel was busy getting details about the test and turned to look for her daughter. The girl was missing. She looked around everywhere but was unable to find her. She called Detective Jacob. The detective asked Rachel all about her child and interrogates the nurses. At the same time, he noticed something. Can you say what did Detective Jacob noticed? And he came to know who had taken Rachel's child. Let us see the answer. If you can notice the nurse ID card, the ID card belongs to a man, but is used by different female nurses. So Detective Jacob came to know that the ID card was fake, and he catches that fake nurse. Detective Jacob got a call that someone was murdered. Jacob reaches the crime scene. He saw that one lady was murdered and she was lying on the floor. Her name was Eden. He checked everything, then he noticed the window glass was broken. It was raining out. Jacob inquired for people. Her husband told that. I was out. I came in now. Eden's maid told. I was making dinner for them, so I don't know anything. He went to his neighbor, and they said that we went shopping. But the neighbor said we always hear the noise, they both fight a lot. Then he inquired his son. He said, I was sleeping. Detective Jacob was thinking, can you guess who has murdered Eden? Who is telling lies? Let us see the answer. If you notice Eden's son, he was wearing shoes, and when you go to the kitchen, nothing is cooked. So Eden's maid and his son had planned this murder together. One morning, Detective John got a call from the bank. That bank has been robbed. Detective John came to the crime scene. He comes and sees that the bank manager is tied, and the bank is in a mess. He saw that all the lockers were empty. Then he questioned the manager. How many people came? How did they look? Did you see them? 2 thieves, said the manager. Where is the security guard? Then the manager told, I don't know. Suddenly 2 people came inside, and they hid me from behind and tied me up, and took all the cash from the entire locker and went away. Detective noticed something in the bank and understood everything. Can you say what Detective John saw? How did he come to know who the thief is? Let us see the answer. Detective John noticed that. Manager told him those thieves came and hit him. But if you see, the manager has not got any hurt mark on him. And security of the bank was also missing, so the manager and security is the robber. One day, it was raining heavily. Detective was returning home after solving many cases. On the way, rain poured heavily. Detective John saw a bungalow. He went inside. Because of the downpour, there was no power in the bungalow, so he was not able to see, and he heard some weird noise, so he thought to get out of the bungalow, but he lost his way. With great difficulty, he saw 3 gates. At the first gate, the door was covered with lots of bats. Second gate was full of rust and jammed, as not used from ages. Before the third gate, some broken electric wires had fallen in the water. Anyone stepping on it would die. Can you say which door would Detective John choose and escape from the bungalow? Let us see the answer. Detective chose the third door because there is no power. So Detective John can travel in water and he escapes from the third door. One day, Detective Jacob was stuck in the hole. From there, he reached a tunnel. He was unable to come out of the tunnel. It was an old tunnel. He was looking around for a way out. That time he saw 3 gates. First was a jigsaw road. If he chose that path, he would be lost. Second had a big ditch. If he tries to go, he will fall down. Third door has a zombie. If Jacob tries to go, zombies will eat him. Detective Jacob was thinking what to do. Can you say which door he will choose? Let us see the answer. Detective Jacob opened the door of the third and hid until all the zombies came out, and went into the jigsaw path, and a few other zombies fell in the ditch. Like this, third door became clear, and now Detective Jacob chooses the third door and he escapes. One usual morning, children came to school. Children assembled for prayer. The principal wished the students all the best for their exams, which were starting the next day. After a while, Rachel, a student, went inside the principal's room to get the signature on the letter. She saw that the principal was not there in the room. Later, when the principal came back and saw that the question paper envelope was opened, so the principal calls the detective to check who stole the question paper. First, the detective asked the P and mark. He told that I got the coffee sometime back and left it on the table. The detective called Rachel and asked. She said that I came to take a signature in the letter. I have not done anything. Then he inquired about the teacher. She said I came to meet to ask for leave for 1 week. But the principal was talking over the phone, so I was not able to meet. When the detective opened the envelope again, he noticed a pen cap on the table. Can you find who stole the question paper? Let us see the answer. If you notice, Rachel has to get a signature on the letter and is having a pen in her hand. The same pen cap was found next to the envelope. So Rachel stole the question papers. There was a big famous park in Mumbai. The park had a good environment, swings, playing area, walking area, and for old people to sit and chit-chat. It had beautiful flowers in the garden. Many people and children come there. One day, an old couple went missing in the park. So the management called Detective Jack and told him all about what had happened. Jack was nothing to all of them. He doubted 3 people, James, Erica, and Charles. James told I was taking photos because I like to write about them. Erica told I come here for a walk with my friends. Charles answered even before he was questioned. He told that I didn't know anything, so I went to see my dad. Jack came to know who was lying. Can you say how and what did Jack notice that he came to know who was lying? Let us see the answer. When Jack was interrogating 3 of them, Charles, before even asking him, started saying that I don't know anything, and he was defending himself, and Charles had the old man's watch in his hand. So he is lying. He had kidnapped the old people. In a family, all were doctors, and they all worked in a hospital. But her daughter Lucy doesn't want to become a doctor. She does it forcefully because of the pressure in the house. She loved painting, and whenever she gets time, she used to paint. She went to the hospital when the doctor told the patient she did something wrong, so she was out of the hospital. When she came home, the whole family was asking her why she didn't do her duty well. She says, I want to become an artist. After some time, when her mother goes to her room, she sees that her daughter is dead. She calls Detective John immediately and starts his investigation. His father told I was in my clinic attending an online patient. Her aunt told I was watching a star in the sky from a telescope. And his brother told I was not at home. Can you say who had murdered Lucy? Who is telling lies? Let us see the answer. When Detective John asks her whole family that her aunt says she was watching a star from a telescope, but it was daytime, how she can see stars, so she was telling a lie. In a hotel, suddenly everyone heard the sound of the gunshot. They all ran to see in which room. It was from the Kelvin room. The receptionist called Detective John. When he went to Kelvin's room, he saw he was dead. He saw that Kelvin got hurt in the head. Detective John came to know that his business partner was staying in the opposite room. He called his partner Sims and told how we both fought that day. And Kelvin was very angry. He took his gun out, and the shot went from my hat to outside the window. For my safety, I shot the gun on Kelvin, and he was dead. So I am not a murderer. I used it for my safety. Can you find out Sims is telling lies? Detective John got doubts about him. Let us see the answer. When the detective saw, Sims had one hole in one side. Because if a gunshot had gone from his hat, then the hat would have two holes. So he was telling lies. He had murdered Kelvin.